All right, my friends, J.R. Dukes with you. Appreciate everybody joining me this evening. We're going to take a few minutes, just make sure everything's working right. And I want to let you know on the front end tonight, have a complete schedule packed for us. We are going to be reviewing in detail what has transpired to date on the Fani Willis case. So it looks like we got good sound. If you have any issues, let me know. Hello to everyone on Facebook. We look like we're doing well on Twitter or the X platform right now. And of course, welcome to all of my regular YouTube viewers. And we are live on Twitch. So that all looks really good. Again, appreciate everybody joining me. Go ahead and take a moment. And if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Helps generate more leads in the algorithm on YouTube. It is definitely and greatly appreciated. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to put them in the comments below. I try to get to the questions at some point, and if I see a question along the road, I am definitely one that does not mind to go ahead and answer the question. Tonight, folks, we are going to review this interesting case of Fani Willis and Nathan Wade. We're going to take a little bit of a summary as to what has transpired during the course of this case. We are also going to go ahead and do a little bit of a deep dive on what has transpired, especially with this motion hearing to have Fani Willis, Nathan Wade, and frankly, the entire DA's office removed off of this case. When it comes to the comments, as I always say, just make sure that you keep it PG. You do not have to agree with, well, you don't have to agree with anything I say. You can be what I call a detractor. Not a problem. Just, articulate your detraction appropriately is all that we ask. We want everybody to join us because we want to hear from all points of view. I think that's truly the only way to have what I've always referred to as a free mind. So once again, welcome to all my free-minded viewers out there. It's good to see you all again. Hello to Matt. Matt's already been active in the chat. Daniel, it's good to see you again, my friend. Yvonne, thank you for joining us. Of course, Bruce, I appreciate you. I saw y'all's comments with yesterday's live stream, and I'll be responding to those very soon, probably tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon after church time, and we'll dive into that tomorrow, hopefully. But that's when I try to get around to my comments. I try to keep up with them daily because if I don't, it just becomes too numerous because I at times get thousands of them, which I appreciate. I really do. I appreciate each and every one of you contributing and commenting. Folks, this case of Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, this saga, I mean, this is like made for TV. This is really, really interesting. I mean, let's be straight up and honest about it here. This is, I refer to it as the case that keeps on giving. And that's exactly what this is. There is never a shortage of court motions to review, things to talk about, theories in law, the personalities involved. I mean, this is a regular, real life whodunit. It's better than watching reality TV, in my humble opinion. And there are so many lessons that we can learn from this particular case. We get to see an insight into the real workings of the world. This particular case, the only reason why it is generating such worldwide attention is obviously because it involves former President Donald Trump, and it's clear to everyone that the Democrats, the liberals, the individuals that are engaging in this behavior is engaging in de facto election interference. They are deathly afraid of former President Donald Trump, and they don't want to face him at the polls. They want to do everything they can to mess this man up, to make things painful for him, and keep him away from being able to run for president. And this case is so much more than just Donald Trump. It's not really Donald Trump. This has to do with your right and my right to vote for who we want as president of the United States. It's really just that simple. Do you know this type of behavior, these type of actions, I've heard people say they're unprecedented, but that's not exactly true. This has happened before, and the year was 1860. And the president that was eliminated off of the ballot was none other than the great Abraham Lincoln. And you know what happened right after this time frame when he was removed off the ballot. And if I remember correct from history, I believe the other side, basically the other Democrats, went ahead and they were going to remove Lincoln, and then the other side removed who he was running against, and of course it led to the Civil War, or at least it was one of the steps to the Civil War. So it is not exactly unprecedented. This type of situation is unprecedented in modern times. That is definitely a fact. Who would think that we in the United States would ever have a situation to where our elected leaders, the people that are Secretary of States, the individuals that are the governors of our state, whatever is the particular person that's in power, but that we would be in a situation where these individuals would actively go after a candidate, a major candidate, a leaning candidate for the next president of the United States, and have him removed off the ballot unilaterally in most parts, such as Maine. The Secretary of State there in Maine, the lady up there, she just decided she knows best for 330,000 individuals in the great state of Maine. She doesn't want her constituents in Maine to vote for themselves or to have the right to vote. She knows best for anyone that's listening to me right now in the great state of Maine. She doesn't want you to have a choice. She knows better than you. And, this is one of the fundamental differences in these liberals versus what we believe in, which is freedom, free choice, being able to live our lives the way we want to live our lives, to live in freedom, to live free from a woke government that wants to effectively be a nanny state for us. They want to take care of us from the day we're born to the day we die. And they want to tell us what to do every single day of our lives. They want you to believe that girls are boys, that boys are girls, that there's no such thing as a male, there's no such thing as a female. They want you to believe that it's perfectly normal for a man to engage in boxing with a woman. They want you to believe that people have pronouns and that they can choose these pronouns. They want you to believe that you cannot choose what's best for your own children. If you were to deny your 5-year-old the right to transition to a girl, for example, there's some states, they are taking your kids away from you. That is no joke. I'm not trying to scare anyone. This is the way the world we're living in is operating. We do not have a border. We have open borders. The reason for that is simple. It's a power grab by the Democrats. They figure soon or later, eventually, the individuals, once time goes by, even without a deal, once time goes by, the children of the newcomers, as President Biden and his administration is now referring to these individuals, their children will vote eventually, because when they're born here, they are an American under the law. And they're just assuming that these individuals are more than likely to vote Democrat. I have suspicions that that might not be the case, but I don't know. But that's the bet that they're willing to take. That's the facts. So, all right, we're going to start diving into it. Again, appreciate everybody being here. Bruce, good to see you. Let's see. Okay, Matt. Yeah, Matt, I hope Trump is inevitable. Absolutely. Appreciate that comment. Daniel, thank you. Yvonne, good to see you. Megan, yeah, canceling Jesus. Absolutely, Megan. You're absolutely right about that. I don't believe that. Personally, on my channel, I don't necessarily force my religion on anyone. I don't believe in that. But it is difficult for me to talk about certain things without inputting my religious beliefs. And of course, I'm a Christian, and I'm proud to be a Christian. But I don't push it on anybody to the extent that you think, or that I think you should believe the way I believe. I will answer whatever questions you have regarding that, and you can make up your own choice. That's the beauty of the way things are designed, is we are all men and women created equally under God, and he has given each and every one of us free choice. And I think that's fantastic. Thanks for that comment, Megan. I appreciate that. And yeah, I tell you what, there are definitely some dumb liberals out there, Johnny. Folks, I don't really know if they're dumb or if they are indoctrinated. I'm kind of leaning almost to the indoctrination point, because a lot of these individuals are highly intelligent adults, and it really is shocking how people can look at the same set of facts, if you will, and have completely different outcomes. I was listening, unfortunately, to one of the ladies on The View. I think it was Joyce Behar. I cannot stand her. She made a similar comment to what I just made, how people look at the same facts and they don't see it the way they see it. All I can say we have to shine light on whatever it is we're concerned about, because I believe that when you shine light on the problem, you can discuss the problem, talk about the problem, and hopefully correct the problem and call it out for what it is. When I see evil, I'll call it evil. When I see wrong, I'll call it wrong. My mother, she used to tell me a criticism of me, and I don't consider it a criticism at this point in my life. I consider it a compliment. She told me that in my life, things are too black and too white. And I'm guilty, I guess. It's just the way it is. That used to bother me when I was a lot younger. It doesn't bother me now. I know it when I see it. I know right and I know wrong. I'm not saying that there are not situations in life where things can get a little murky, a little gray, but when you get right down to it, you know right and wrong, I know right and wrong, and it's really just that simple. So, and hello down under there in Australia. I imagine it's probably early morning there, or if not late night. I know that the other side of the world is just the other side of the world, but it's good to have you and anybody listening in Australia. Yes, Lenny, we need to put God in government. We just have to be careful with that. Y'all might differ with me on that. I am always very cautious about saying we need God in government. The only problem is right now, America is a Christian nation. What if that ever did change? I mean, we wouldn't want another religion pushed on us. And that is the danger that you have to be careful of. Truthfully, I believe in a secular government, but I don't believe we should be divorced of religion either. In other words, if we want to practice our religion openly, or if people in school want to pray, I think that's totally fine. I believe in the right of religion, but I don't necessarily believe that the government can literally tie Christians down to where we can't have any part, if that makes any sense. I realize that's kind of splitting hairs on some level, but that's just the way I see it. We just have to be careful of that, because some people don't see the world I see it or the way you see it. And we may be Christian or whatever our religion is. What if in power a religion was introduced as a state religion that was not the religion we chose? That would be a problem for us. And that would be a scary situation, especially if we were under some kind of Sharia law, whatever they call that, where women had to wear the burqas and all this other stuff. I'm just telling you, it's really scary. We're very blessed here in the United States. Make no mistake about it. We are such a blessed nation. And I'm sure you share my sentiments as far as that's concerned. All right. Up here on this diagram here, I made a really rough little diagram that goes across this way. And the reason I did this is I want to have just a brief overview of exactly what has transpired on this case to date. And then I have a video that I want us to watch that Megan Kelly put out just real recently. And I think it's really a good listen because it outlines everything as far as this potential removal of DA Fani Willis is concerned. But I want to talk about how we got here and why this is so important and why this cannot stand and why it cannot allow to stand the way it is. Because when you have corruption in government, it has to be rooted out. It has to be exposed for what it is. So let's go ahead and start diving into this. Welcome, everybody. Once again, we're going to drill right down into it. All right, so this all started, obviously, just a real quick background, if y'all excuse me. Sometimes when I talk, I get the worst dry mouth in the world, so I guess it's good and bad, but I'll just take occasional sips if y'all will pardon the interruption here. All right, here we go. I love this picture right here in the middle of attorney Ashleigh Merchant. Y'all know that our regular viewers of my channel, how much I love and admire Ashleigh Merchant. What a fantastic attorney she is. Obviously, her client contacted her, and this is her client right here. If you've never seen him, this is Michael Roman. This is the individual that we've kind of referred to, but we have never really talked much about him per se. Obviously, Michael Roman, and I believe it was 18 or 19 others, including President Donald Trump, were indicted. And it might have been more than that. I think some of the individuals pleaded out. But let's just say there's roughly 18, 19, 20 individuals, including President Donald Trump, that were indicted by Fani Willis. And of course, Fani Willis's picture is right here near the bottom of the screen. They were indicted by Fani Willis of Fulton County, Georgia. Fulton County, Georgia is the middle county, if you will, in the state, or I should say in the city of Atlanta. There are many counties in the metro Atlanta area. you have DeKalb and Fulton County that pretty well make up what we would call the Atlanta area. This particular county, as I said, is Fulton County. DA Fani Willis is the DA of that county, and because the county seat is there, the capital essentially, she had the authority, she had the standing, is how they say it in the law, to go ahead and bring a charge of this bogus, ridiculous RICO action against former President Donald Trump and his administration. So it's unfortunate, but that's what she did. It's very clear to me. It's very clear by the things that we have seen her say and actions that she's taken that this was all, this whole charade is nothing more than a conspiracy by Fani Willis, the liberals, the Democrats, to engage in this election interference. There's documented evidence of all these individuals meeting at the White House, colluding with probably President Joe Biden if he was awake at the time, but definitely the lawyers. The New York Attorney General, Letitia James, was there. The special prosecutor Jack Smith was there. So I can tell you at the end of the day, it is going to be so abundantly evident that this is all a big conspiracy, but not against Donald Trump, not against the co-defendants. This conspiracy, if you want a RICO action, the RICO action has to do with what you see going on with Fani Willis, Letitia James, the Biden administration. That's the real RICO action. And as a quick side note, you know, the liberal folks are losing their mind. The woke individuals, they are going ballistic because despite what all the talking heads were saying, I told you a long time ago that yes, the Supreme Court will take up this case by Donald Trump, and I believe they are going to rule either outright that he has complete immunity for actions taken as president, or it's going to be something very, very close to that. It might not be a 9-0 verdict, but it will be in the favor of President Donald Trump. And I say that for many reasons. Number one reason is they took 16 days to decide they are going to handle this case. If they were not going to accept the case, why would they take 16 days? In other words, it's clear they're helping Donald Trump, if you will, get his full due process rights, and they're not putting anything in a fast track mode. The bottom line is this: when Donald Trump can slow this thing down, he wins. I've said many times, you don't want an attorney at law, you want an attorney at stall. So this has been a great victory for Donald Trump. Make no mistake about it. If Donald Trump wins at the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, sir, you have complete and total immunity, this RICO case is gone. It's gone, period. It doesn't matter what happens with Fani Willis. This case is over. The documents case is gone. All these other cases are gone, with maybe exception of the documents case out of New York City involving Alvin Bragg and possibly the Letitia James situation. I don't really see that being covered with anything to do with presidential immunity. However, I do believe the 8th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution will definitely reach the Supreme Court of the United States pertaining to Donald Trump, because this fine is so clearly outrageous. It is so clearly targeted him. And the 8th Amendment protects you, protects me against any type of unreasonable fine, imprisonment, what they call cruel and unusual, or cruel or unusual, whatever the wording is. It protects us all from this type of nonsense. And I sincerely hope he is victorious in all of his legal efforts. And so far, it's hard to argue that President Donald Trump is not doing a great job. His attorneys are doing a great job. He has been winning everything that has been brought up, everything that's come up before the court, before anybody. I mean, tell me something that he's holding or that he looked like, that it looks like he's losing. It's not happening. Matter of fact, most people that come up against Donald Trump, as I've said many times, they're in jail themselves. Look at that Mosley case. The woman out of Philadelphia, whatever city that was, she is facing prison time now for mortgage fraud. Look at that Michael Abernathy. I talk about him every once in a while. Remember, he was on CNN every day. Donald Trump can't sleep because I'm in his head. I'm going to get him. I'm the reason Donald Trump's going to fail. Donald Trump's the disease and I'm the cure. Oh, I mean, he just blah, blah, blah all the time. And he's serving 19 years over that Nike nonsense, trying to embezzle money from Nike or whatever the exact charges were. He's in deep, deep trouble. And right now he's serving 19 years. And this is 19 years hard time. He's not getting out until 19 years. At one time, this joker thought he would actually run for president. He talked about going to someone's head, the power or whatever, the publicity. This guy just totally had a complete mental break from reality, and it serves him right. What an irritating, evil individual, in my humble, unbiased opinion, of course. Moving on. There are many other individuals like this come up against Donald Trump and they crash. I can't remember the other guy's name. There was a guy going around the country as a Republican and filing these cases to have Donald Trump removed off the ballot. Turns out this guy's a CPA, a practicing CPA. He's under indictment now from the feds because allegedly he has been going around saying, hey, I'll do your taxes. Not only will I do your taxes, but I'll really do your taxes. And let's just pretend like there's a $50,000 thing he can do to save you $50,000 in tax. He tells his client, if I save you 50, I get half, you get half. That's obviously a very, very big red flag that something's wrong. So if you ever have an accountant tell you something like that, by the way, you need to leave quickly and go get another accountant. That's what he's accused of. And he faces some serious hard time for that type of behavior. Okay, so I want to show you how this is really what's going to be cool. I'm going to show you what this lady right here, Ashleigh Merchant, did that broke this case wide open. Folks, without this lady right here, Ashleigh Merchant, the great Ashleigh Merchant, who is an attorney in the state of Georgia. She has an office in Cobb County. I believe it's off of, well, it don't matter what street it's off of, but right off of Whitlock, I believe, downtown Marietta. This lady right here is the reason we're even having this discussion about this case, and Fani Willis and her office are facing removal and other consequences. It was her that started the ball rolling. Now, as I said, she is representing this guy here. This is one of the mugshots that Fani Willis had a really great time with, which of course is her client, Michael Roman. Ashleigh Merchant, what she did is this. Let me go ahead and move to the next screen here. Let me see how this works. All right, I'm just going to switch views. Give me 1 sec, because I want to show you exactly what she did. And this got the whole thing rolling. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this. This is exactly what happened. Let's see what the deal is here. Okay. All right. Okay, I got it. At any rate, what we're going to do is, also, if you guys want to join, I'll send a link here in a minute. You're welcome to join the conversation if you would like to, and we will bring you on. You can make some comments if you like. Okay, folks, here it is. It's real simple. This is the Cobb County, out of Cobb County, Georgia, COBB. This is the Cobb County Superior Court Clerk's Office, one of many sites you can go to search records. What she did is she knows that Fani Willis is one of the individuals involved in the case. Of course, she's the DA. She knew one of the prosecutors, one of the special prosecutors is, of course, Nathan Wade, the incompetent Nathan Wade, I might add. Hello, Miss Kitty. It's good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. At any rate, it is this website here that started the ball rolling. She simply went over here. And, you know, folks, I'm going to tell you, this is the kind of stuff I used to do when I was trying to get information on an individual. It wasn't necessarily for a court proceeding, but just sometimes you need to know who people are. You need to do research on people. And nowadays you can do a Google search. And if you have an idea where this person lived, you can drill down further. You don't have to just assume that you do a Google search and that's it. If you have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a potential husband, wife, whatever, maybe I shouldn't tell you this stuff, but hey, there's a lot of ways you can check people out nowadays. You can start the drill. Zzz, 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 and this is part of the drill. It's one of my favorite things to do. So let's take a quick peek. Cobb County Superior Court Clerk. Her name is Connie Taylor. And by the way, every state is a little different on these records. Some states share everything. Like Florida, we have what we call sunshine laws here. And almost anything is available if you make an open records request, or it's just available by doing a search. Now, they do nowadays try to hide social security numbers and certain information like that are in the pleadings. You can go to court and probably get complete certified copies of it. However, Every state's a little different, but Georgia shares the vast majority of their records too, especially court records, because there's no reason to have court records under seal unless it's generally pertaining to some type of a juvenile individual or juvenile offender. So let's go ahead and take a peek at this. Let's search court records, and let's see if we can get lucky here. We can even try Nathan Wade and see. I didn't try this. I probably shouldn't experiment with something I haven't tried, but we'll try it anyways. As you can see, you can search by name, search for criminal or civil cases by name, case number. If you know the case number, you can pull it up. You can search criminal cases, civil cases. There's other different types like traffic cases. You can search for the pleading types. All right. We're talking civil, which is basically money. And of course, criminal, which means you face the risk of going to jail. And pleading types, that can be like, like the actual pleadings when you initially file the suit. It can obviously be motions, like a motion for this or that, or it can be just different pleadings. I imagine you could probably even pull up a lot of the discovery, like interrogatories, requests for admissions, requests for production, whatever. It's generally available. You can pull it right up here. And then, of course, you can search by attorneys. What is the other searches here? Just briefly, you can search by notary, and then you can search by what's called a CCFN number, whatever that is. So let's just for giggles, let's go ahead and see if we can find Nathan Wade on here, if it's still available. Of course, I know his ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, is Jocelyn Wade. So let's take a peek at this. Last name Wade, W-A-D-E. It'll tell you right here. It says all names for individuals must be entered. Last name first, comma, followed by the first name. No commas. All right. See, by first name followed by first name. Okay, no commas. We're not going to put no comma in there. So just Wade space Nathan, N-A-T-H-A-N. All right. Let's see if that floats. And we're just going to go with all years. Let's just see what happens. Search. Boom. Here we go. We found their records. Unbelievable. We have the records right here. No joking. That's nothing short of amazing. I like that. All right, so let's make sure it changes on your screen, and y'all can see this along with me here. Let me see what I got here. I want to make sure. Are y'all seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, or did it pop to a different? Oh, you know what? I know what happened. It opened a different screen. Let me switch over to the other screen. Give me a second. I thought I was looking at a froze screen, but that wasn't it. Let me stop this, and we're going to switch to the other screen, because what it did, it opened a separate screen. Okay, here we go. And we're going to share screen, and we're going to share this. Boom. Here's Nathan Wade's information. This is exactly what she did. This worked out even better than I thought it would. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'm going to try to blow it up. Let's look at that. Nathan Wade, unbelievable. And then his other parties, Wade Jocelyn. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Hello. Just call me Ashleigh Merchant. It's really just that simple. You can see the date filed 11/3/2021. Remember that fits perfectly with what we've been talking about, and that is he signed a contract to handle the Donald Trump, very serious, and he was a hero. He had to put a stop to Donald Trump, so he was kind enough to accept up to $1 million from the nice taxpayers of Fulton County, and of course, the allegations are he accepted money from COVID funds that Fani Willis authorized without permission like she was supposed to. At any rate, that was on the first day of November 2021. The next day, he files for divorce from his wife. And, of course, the file date is 11/3. So it's within plus or minus 1 day. Look at that. All right. So that's consistent. Let's see if that highlights. Yeah, y'all can see that right there on your screen, I hope. If you can't, let me know, and I'll try to blow it up bigger. But anyway, here it is. Nathan Wade, divorce. Here's Nathan Wade, complaint. Okay, that was something before. I'll have to look and see what that is. WX. Oh, you know what? I think this is one of these situations that I'm looking into, as a matter of fact. Remember how I told you there are other instances where Nathan Wade and or Fani Willis have been accused of some type of malfeasance? I'm telling you, this is all going to come out sooner or later. This is not the only shoes about to fall, folks. Guarantee it. I have seen clips, especially news clips, with my own eyes, where Nathan Wade is being interviewed, and they're like, "Hey, sir, tell us what'd you spend this money on?" "Oh, I spent it on work product." "Well, can you show me the work product?" "Oh, it's right here in my head. I just memorized it. I did all that work. I charged all that money, but it's right here in my head." The guy's a crook. The guy's a crook. It's just that simple, and they think it's funny. It used to be water cooler chatter until this stuff broke, and that's exactly what happened. So, moving on here. that WXIA TV obviously is one of the parties. It looks like he filed a complaint against them back in 2020. And then there's some kind of oath statement back from 1998, unsigned. Nathan Wade Dramone. I'm not sure if his middle name is Jerome, but that probably is him. It's a bar examiner, state B bar admission. That must be when he was first admitted to the bar. I'm just guessing. So at any rate, the most relevant thing is this right here. Let's click this plus. Now, when you click the plus, which is pretty standard with a lot of these public records, it's going to show you all of the information here. And you can see Wade, Jocelyn, non-party, Airbnb payments. He must have other creditors or something that he listed as part of this divorce proceeding. And you see what you see. Now, if you want to get the actual record, I believe all you got to do is click. Let's see how that is. Or you have to order the, actually just click view right there. There we go. Here we go. Now we're diving in. So here's the civil case number of their divorce right here. Here is the, I don't want to give out her address, so I don't want to dive any deeper into this, but you get the idea here. You can click here for the pleadings, and you got the complaint, the certificate of service, the verification, which of course is the notary saying that you signed it before them. The summons means you need to show up in court. The domestic filing form, it's all right here. You want to have if you're like me and you enjoy this type of stuff, just pull on over here and start clicking away. Lots of good information if you like that type of stuff. And I love looking at this type of stuff. It's interesting. But this is what Ashleigh Merchant did. Now, as soon as she did this, what happened is mysteriously all of this was sealed. And it was sealed in violation of Georgia law. They don't allow you to seal this type of information. Just point blank. It's just not allowed. You have to go. And this is the reason why Ashleigh Merchant went ahead and filed to have it unsealed. Now, I want to remind you, she hit the print button. You saw that big print button there a second ago. She went ahead and hit the print button, and she had a copy of it. But as an ethical attorney, she kept it under seal herself in her office, I'm assuming, until the judge had time to actually officially unseal it. Now, listen, that's pretty ethical, because I can pretty well guess that most unethical attorneys is probably the best way to say it, would go ahead and, be more along the lines of, hey, I'm just going to give it to a reporter or give it to someone else and let them worry about disseminating it. That way she's not culpable for it. I mean, that's just kind of what I'm thinking could have happened, but she being ethical, and again, we're right here. Let me do it this way so y'all can see it better. I love this picture of Ashleigh Merchant, but this is what she did. She got a copy of the divorce, and she knew there was a rat. So let's connect the dots here. So we're moving on from Ashleigh Merchant. We have her client here, Michael Roman. She gets a sniff of fellow Nathan Wade, if you will. She knows something is wrong. She knew that he was a new person brought in for the state, basically what they call an acting DA or essentially an acting attorney. It's not the attorney general, so it'd be an acting AG is what they say as far as officially, as far as a title. But the bottom line is he's an attorney paid up to $1 million, brought in, handled the case November 1st, and November 2nd, boom, he files for divorce from his wife of only 26 years. And I don't know if you've seen her picture. She's a good looking woman. So I don't know what the heck he's doing with Fani. I will say this, and I've said it before, but the fact that he chose Fani just shows me he's doing work that no one else wants to do, if you know what I'm saying. That's just my personal opinion. But at any rate, I digress. So Nathan Wade, she knew something was wrong. She knew absolutely there's a problem, because in the divorce documents themselves, when Jocelyn Wade responded to the divorce, she come right out and said, hey, my husband, Nathan Wade, is having a relationship with DA Fani Willis, and they have my money up to the $1 million that was paid to Nathan Wade. Fani Willis is out spending my money, and I want my money. I almost want to hit that cue up that song by Rihanna. You better have my money. That's kind of what I hear every time I think about that. So anyway, better have my money. I need my money. Where's my money? Fani's out spending it. Remember, the allegations are according to the complaint, according to Josh and Wade, according to the findings subsequent to this. These individuals we're talking about, Nathan Wade and lover Fani Willis, they went to the Napa Valley. They went to Belize. They took 2 or 3 different cruises. They went on trips to Tennessee. They went on trips, I believe, to Florida. They were just having a good old time. They're supposed to be working, obviously, on this big, important Rico case, but they're out just having a great old time. So moving forward here, we have the judge in this particular case, Scott McAfee. He's only 34 years old. He was just appointed to the bench by, I should say the Superior Court bench, by the current governor of Georgia, which is Brian Kemp. So at any rate, you have Sweet Fani right here. Hey, hello, Freddie. Good to see everybody. And we got someone watching all the way from El Salvador. Is that what it says? Yeah. Welcome. Glad to have everybody in here. All right. So we have Sweet Fani right here. They are on the hot seat. They are in trouble. The motion was filed by Ashleigh Merchant saying, Judge, I have all this information. Before she filed the motion, too, I have to point out, she was in contact continuously with this man right here. We know who he is, right? Terrence Bradley. Now, let me give you a quick background on Terrence, just so we understand where we're at on this here. Terrence apparently was a law partner of Nathan Wade. They were law partners. The allegations are he was sleeping with people in the office. The allegations are one of the individuals he was sleeping with from their office there alleged some type of sexual misconduct. We don't know the exact details, but that's what the allegation is. As a result, the allegations are Nathan Wade fired him. Obviously, it is a serious financial liability to have an employee that is not on the same level you are as far as authority is concerned. And this individual is claiming that somehow you sexually assaulted her. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's false. This is just what the allegation is. And of course, I want to be clear. A lot of this, I am kind of conflating. I'm kind of like piecing together a little bit here. What I believe happened is Ashleigh Merchant contacted him. We know that's a fact. We have the text messages that we're going to look at here in a minute, all right? I got a bunch of these text messages to look through. At any rate, Ashleigh Merchant contacted him, and he's like, oh, girl, what's going on? And they're texting back and forth, as we're going to take a look at in a second. He actually confirmed that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade were having a relationship way before November 1st, 2021. And remember, that date's important because Fani Willis and Nathan Wade have sworn under penalties of perjury that their relationship did not start before November 1st, 2021. If it's proven that they have had a relationship, and we're talking an adult relationship, we all know what we mean, before November 1st, 2021, then that is perjury, and it is evidence of something even worse, which is called fraud upon the court. Now, folks, listen, I don't want to disparage attorneys, but I can just tell you, I have a lot of friends that are attorneys or former practicing attorneys. A lot of these conferences that they allegedly met at, I'm talking about Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, when these attorneys go off to these conferences, I can assure you there's a lot of conferencing going on, if you know what I'm saying. It's hard to believe, but I'm talking about, hey, Kim, welcome. Good to see you, sweetheart. Thanks for joining us today. And I'm not talking about these conferences just being, hey, let's review paperwork. It's paperwork, if you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter a lot of times if the individual's married or not. There's just a lot of shenanigans going on at these conferences. I'm just telling you the truth. It's kind of tough to get your mind around, but unfortunately, some people just don't have the ethical values you think they would have. I'm not saying that everybody's perfect. I'm not saying I'm a perfect person. I'm just telling you what happens at these conferences. And allegedly, that's what happened between Nathan Wade and Fani Willis. And that's one of the other reasons Fani Willis was so upset, is in the allegations, Fani Willis allegedly slept with Nathan Wade like when they first met. Oh, I mean, it is what it is, right? That's the allegation. And that was one of the reasons she was so red hot about this. Now, why did Terrence decide that he's not going to testify on the stand, or why did he testify the way he testified? Give me 1 second and I'll tell you. Let me back up here. I want to continue with my little story. So we have Fani and we have Nathan. They're on the hot seat. And the Judge Scott McAfee, is doing the best he can to sort all this out. Now, remember, he has said on the record that even if there's the appearance of impropriety, Fani Willis, DA, and her staff and her office, they got to go. This case is dead. This case is dead. I don't care if she's on the case or not on the case, but if she's kicked off the case is really dead. It's dead even quicker because no attorney likes to come back behind another attorney and pick up their sloppy case. It's just that simple. Nobody wants to touch this case. Most of Georgia, whether you know it or not, is a rather conservative area. It just happens to be that Fulton County being a area that is an urban area, that's the city. It's obviously a Democratic stronghold. It's just one of those odd areas that is controlled heavily by the Democrats, and that's why they act the way they do in these particular areas. Now, everybody forgets about this sweet lady right here. I just love her to death. She's just as sweet as she can be. And she has been given such a hard time. Anybody know who she is? Well, let me go ahead and tell you. This was the first witness called at this hearing to have the DA removed. This lady's name is Robin Yearty. Anybody heard of Robin Yearty? Of course you have, especially if you've been tuning into my channel. Now, Robin, all by herself, has said straight up when she was being examined by Ashleigh Merchant, she's like, I know for a fact that Nathan Wade and Fani Willis have had a relationship together, and I'm talking an adult relationship. I'm not talking friends. They had an adult relationship all the way back in 2019. Now, you may say, JR, how does she know that? Well, she told the court the following. She said that Fani Willis and her are old college friends from college. You know, they did things together like college roommates, college friends would do. She said in 2019 that Fani Willis and her were again living together, or there was definitely some type of close relationship between them. And she said she saw with her own eyes Nathan Wade, Fani Willis holding hands and kissing, because they specifically asked her, why would you say that they are an adult couple back all the way back in 2019? And that was the answer that she gave. So no matter what Terrence Bradley says, give me a sec, fix my screen. No matter what Terrence Bradley says, it really just doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal, because you have this witness here, Robin Yearty. She clearly stated in front of the judge and for the record that she saw these two doing things together that is indicative of individuals that are having an adult relationship. So full stop on that. I mean, she was straightforward. Now, she was impeached, or at least they attempted to impeach her. And here's what they did. Apparently, she was working for Fani Willis at one time at the DA's office, and they had a falling out for one reason or another. So she quit, because it's one of them things where your boss comes to you and they say, hey, Yearty, Robin, I want you to either quit, turn in your resignation, or I'm going to terminate you. You can have it either way you want it. You know, make up your own mind, make up your own choice. So she chose to resign. Now, normally that looks like an employee with an axe to grind, and that's pretty well what the state tried to make Robin Yearty out to be. But there's a problem with that. And the problem with that is that Miss Yearty did everything she could to fight the subpoena to come in. She was scared to death. She did not want to come in. She told the judge as much, and she definitely told Ashleigh Merchant, I am scared. I don't want to come in. They had to almost get to the point where they had told her under threat, you have to come in. You're under subpoena. You have to be here. So she is a reluctant witness for the defense. However, she was a very good witness, and her testimony alone will give the judge, and can give the judge, plenty of room to go ahead and remove DA Fani Willis and her office off this case. It's just that simple. It only takes one witness. You don't have to have 4 or 5 different witnesses. Now, generally, they like to see 3 separate forms of proof, if you will, like a witness, some paper, whatever. In this case, they got her, they got text messages, and they have cell phone records. So they have that perfect trifecta that attorneys generally strive for. So make no mistake about it. This is a strong case. Now, whether the judge is going to rule to kick her off, that's another story. I don't know. I can tell you what my bet is, but I'm not going to tell you now. I'm going to tell you in a few minutes. So this lady did a fantastic job, and I think she handled the impeachment, if you will, rather well. They also brought to the stand the individual we're going to call Daddy. This is Daddy. Anybody know who Daddy is? Daddy is Fani Willis's daddy. Well, Daddy took the stand, and he basically explained that he's black and that his daughter's black. And that black people, y'all may not know this, black people keep a ton of cash in their house. It's just the way it is. It's the way they're brought up. And because the judge is white, I'm white, I don't know, hell, you may be white. All I can tell you is this man wants you to know that black people keep a lot of cash in their house. Now, why is that important? Well, Fani Willis can be disqualified off this case and face criminal problems if she benefits from this case. Now, what does benefit mean? Well, it means that she receives money or something of value in return from prosecuting this case. The prosecutor is not, and the DA, they're not supposed to get rich because they're prosecuting a case. Yet you have DA Fani Willis that has a book. I believe the book is called Find the Votes or something like that. She's making a ton of money off a book that she's already published some time ago. And of course, now she has a reason to hammer Donald Trump and company. In addition to all of this, Fani Willis paid Nathan Wade without going through the proper procedure. I'll make sure you understand this. They were supposed to go to the Fulton County board and say, board, we understand there's rules. We have to come to you before we write checks worth $1 million. I need a special prosecutor. Here's the guy I want. Please give me permission. No, Fani Willis, she's too good for that. Fani Willis knows what to do at all times. And so what did Fani do? Fani hired him without going through the proper channels. And unfortunately, Scott McAfee allowed it. He said, hey, it's no problem. I'm not going to do nothing about it. And that's exactly what happened in regard to that. But it has been shown, it has been proven that they have taken, as I said earlier, many trips together, many dinners together. It's called enrichment by proxy. It's no different than if you hire a vendor. The vendor is Nathan Wade in this particular case. Let me back up to Nathan Wade. The vendor is Nathan Wade up here at the top. And it's what we call by proxy. Let's just call it $1 million. He gets $1 million, and then he's enriching Fani by taking her Fani out, the big Fani. You can tell it's big Fani. He was taking her out to dinner and on vacations and on cruises in the Napa Valley and whatever. But guess what? Fani Willis, now remember, she prosecutes white collar crime all the time, right? She prosecutes white collar crime all the time. So she knows how to try to wiggle out of this. So what does she come up with? What does Nathan Wade and her decide they're going to do? Oh, they have a simple solution to this. We're going to go ahead and tell everybody, I reimburse Nathan Wade in cash. That way there's no track. Of course, they asked the DA and Nathan Wade, of course, when Fani paid you back each and every time approximately 50%, you have a receipt for it, don't you? Oh, no, I don't have a receipt for this. Well, you have a receipt for the money coming out of the bank. No, I don't have money. Remember Daddy? Y'all remember Daddy? We talked about Daddy a minute ago. Daddy explained black people don't keep their money in the bank. They keep it at home in the form of cash. So that's the reason why black people don't have money coming out of the bank and a receipt for it, or cash money going in the bank and a receipt for it. So, Daddy was there to support that line of crock. You know what that was. They asked Nathan Wade the same thing. Did you have receipts for cash that you've taken? No, don't. Do you, Fani Willis is reimbursing you and you got to pay your bills, and you've told your wife in divorce papers that you're all but broke and you can't afford to pay your bills. So surely you've been taking all that cash you've been reimbursed and you've been putting it back in your bank account. Oh, no, I didn't do that either. I guess because he's black. I don't know. That's what Daddy said. Daddy said when you're black, you don't keep money in the bank. You keep the cash money at the house. Oh, that's the way he raised her, is what he testified to. Of course, I have other videos to show you where Daddy's a big racist. Did you know that? I wonder if he taught Fani that too. we got another story we're going to check out where we're going to see just how racist Fani is. And I'm just guessing that's the way Daddy raised her, but we'll see. I don't want to. I don't want to go off on too many tangents. These people are just loaded full of you know what. It is really, really amazing. They must think we're all just completely and utterly stupid. Absolutely stupid. So that's their story. It's all cash. And I have to add one other thing too. Sweet Fani had at the time I don't know if she still has or not, but at the time she had a tax lien on her property. Now, what's a tax lien? A tax lien means you didn't pay your damn tax on your property. You know how it is. You own a house. I own this house. I have to pay my taxes every year. I don't pay my taxes here in the state of Florida. That's one of the very few reasons they can take your house from you. They will literally take your house, put a tax sale up, and someone will own my house. It's really just that simple. Well, Fani, sweet Fani, had a tax lien for roughly $4,500. Now, you would think she would grab some of that cash that she keeps at the house because she's black and go pay her tax lien. But she did not. Isn't that something? That's really weird, ain't it? All that money just sitting around the house, but she doesn't think enough to pay her tax lien. Ain't that something? How about that? I wonder if Daddy taught her that. I don't know. What do you think? You think I'm on you think I'm onto something, or you think or do you guys smell a rat? I know what I smell. It doesn't necessarily smell like a rat. Let's talk about my boy Terrence right here, okay? Because this here was supposed to be one of the star witnesses. And as I said earlier, what happened with sweet Terrence? Well, let's talk about it. He's having email exchanges with Ashleigh Merchant, and we're going to take a look at them in just a second. He is basically telling her, well, he did tell her. He's like, Ashleigh's like, I'm really nervous about this. And he told her, stay calm. You're doing the right thing, whatever. And he told her, quote, go be great. Wow, he's really encouraging her, ain't he? Ashleigh, you can do this, girl. You got it. You're superwoman. Don't be nervous. Because Ashleigh told him, this is going to be big. This is going to be huge. This is going to blow this case up. I am really nervous with this information. He said, don't worry about it. Go be great. Well, he had a change of heart somewhere along the line, because when he got to court, he tried to hide behind the shield called attorney-client privilege. We've talked about this. When you have someone testify, especially a person that might have been your lawyer, every one of us have different rights, and there's what they call rules of evidence for evidence to come in. One of the situations here was what we call the attorney-client privilege. And he was trying to tell us that Nathan Wade was his client in his divorce, his ongoing divorce, I guess, from Jocelyn Wade. Remind you, he's never been paid $1 from Nathan Wade to be his divorce lawyer. In all fairness, you don't have to necessarily pay an attorney anything for them to technically be your lawyer. But folks, this smells like, what everything else smells like, right? It's just one grand conspiracy to commit fraud on the court. I've had people ask me, why would a guy like this take the chance to risk his law license and risk imprisonment by essentially covering for Fani Willis and Nathan Wade? And I've been thinking about that, and I'm continuing to think about it. And what I think happened is, at first, he had revenge in his heart. When he's talking to Ashleigh Merchant, he's like, this is my chance to get back at him. I can tell the truth as I know it and fry them both. And I think what happened is, in the month that lapsed from January this year till February, where he's testifying, he realized that his ex-partner Nathan Wade and Fani Willis, in all likelihood, will lose this case. In all likelihood, they're going to be disbarred. In all likelihood, they're going to be prosecuted for perpetrating a fraud on the court and perjury and probably other crimes such as honest service fraud to start with. And I think he got cold feet about it. I think it's really just that simple. Now, there may be other reasons there that you have thought of that I haven't thought of. If you have another reason, put in the comments now so I can take a quick peek at it and we can check it out. But something definitely made this man change his mind. And we saw that on the stand. At first, he hid behind this attorney-client privilege garbage. The judge saw through that, saw that he was essentially lying, without saying he was lying, and the judge ordered him to testify. Now, what was the net result of that? He got back on the stand and essentially kept saying he can't recall, he can't remember. Now, why do they do that? He's trying to avoid a perjury trap. It's very difficult to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in the criminal context whether you truly could not recall, which of course is different than I can't remember. This guy, all these players are professional attorneys. Even Daddy is an attorney. I want to make one last comment about Daddy. The judge, in my humble opinion, has all but dismissed his testimony. Why? Because at the very end of his testimony, Daddy admitted that he has been in the room with Fani Willis, Nathan Wade, and their attorneys during this whole process. He said, I'm not under a subpoena, so I did not have to, they call it invoking the rule, where everybody has to separate, because you don't want people essentially coming up with the same testimony and trying to vouch for one another. That's just crooked. That's just wrong. And of course, the judge is not buying that either. He told the prosecution, hey, the defense and the prosecution both knew the rule was invoked, and they know common sense wise, you can't be in the same room. So he did not technically strike his testimony. However, you got to remember, this is a judge that is hearing this case, that's hearing this evidentiary. It's not, in this particular case, it's not a jury hearing this particular case. It's just the judge. And we're going to talk about that in a second. What does that look like? But in the judge's mind, he's just going to erase anything and everything that Daddy said. There's one final piece of this case that we have to talk about, and that is this guy right here. This guy's name is Jeff DeSantis. There are reports, Breitbart News has been doing a fantastic job on this case. The allegation is, and the reporting from Breitbart, who has been reporting from several unnamed sources that have given this information to Breitbart on the condition of anonymity, that this individual is a plant of the Biden administration. Yes, you heard that right. Can you imagine that? You talk about corruption, election interference, criminal activity. This guy's the poster boy for this if these allegations are correct. This guy, when you kind of just put it straight and don't use glossy language on it, he has reportedly been paid well over $100,000, and his job is to essentially keep tabs on the DA Fani Willis District Attorney's Office, to coordinate it with the White House, and to continue to make sure DA Willis is pointed in the right direction, that she is focused properly on persecuting Donald Trump, to make sure that they get Donald Trump with a felony conviction as soon as humanly possible. Remember, folks, this whole game is what Alan Dershowitz says, get Trump in his book. That's it. And listen, I'm not a fan necessarily of Alan Dershowitz. I get it. But despite the fact he is a staunch Democrat, the fact is he's right about this. He's right about a lot of what he says on these fairness issues. And he's one of the few Democrats that calls it what it is. And this is corruption. This is election interference. This is wrong. This has to be exposed. Unfortunately, the mainstream media has not completely embraced this story like they should, but it's slowly trickling out there. I showed you a report not long ago. Lou Dobbs on his channel is talking about it. You have Megyn Kelly, talking about it on her channel. There are a few outlets that sniffing around this story, but they're not pushing it as hard as they could. And Lenny, you're exactly correct. This is a Rico case, all right. It's Rico involving Fani Willis and her office, and in all likelihood, the Joe Biden administration and his office and his cohorts. You talk about Rico, that's Rico, folks. It's just that simple. And it's sad that we live in that type of state of affairs right now. But that is what's going on. That is how this whole situation is panning out. What a bunch of nonsense. If you're going to go after someone that is and has been and likely will be the most powerful man in the world again, you better have your ducks in a row. The old expression is, you don't throw stones if you live in a glass house. Well, Fanny baby and Nathan baby, you people are stupid. Let me go ahead and be the first to just tell you what you are. You're just plain stupid. You should have just kept things the way they were, continue to engage in your corruption, whatever you guys got going on down there, your little racket. Hey, no problem with me. You should not have done what you're doing to all these fine people. A lot of these people indicted in this so-called Rico situation are grandmothers and grandfathers. And folks, if you don't know this, these election laws are not as clear as you think they would be. When you hear these slate of electors and this indoctrination where, oh, they would come up with a fake state of electors. If you read the laws pertaining to the elections, what we call the election laws, they are very convoluted and confusing. And there are times where you are supposed to put together a slate of electors. That's just the way it works. I'm not making this up. This is the gospel truth. You have to follow these rules, and they can be confusing, and sometimes they seem like they conflict. And if the president of the United States at the time, Donald Trump, is getting advice from his counsel saying, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how the process works. We need to challenge this or challenge. Hey, that's what he has to do. That's part of his job as president, whether he's awarded another term or whether he's outgoing. He needs to check the integrity of the elections. Democrats do it all the time. Don't let nobody lie to you, folks. They do it all the time. Make no mistakes about it. All right. We're going to pop into our first video of the night because I need to rest my throat. And then you see these text messages here. We're going to tear into these for a little while. These are going to be good. So we're going to chat through some of this here for a little while. Let me go ahead and look at some of my comments here. I definitely have to point out real quick, my best friend, Kim Griffith. Kim, you always are so kind, and you're always supporting this program here. You and a few of my other friends there. And I sincerely appreciate that, dear. That is really kind of you and generous of you. And your comment, of course, is Mike Roman does opposition research for Trump. This guy finds the skeletons. Okay, great. I appreciate you telling me that. I actually did not know that. I know he was working for Trump. I was not sure exactly of his capacity. He was definitely one of these background players, if you will. But just the same, he's caught up in this, and that is unfortunate. Folks, there's nothing that really wrecks your life more than having a bunch of criminal problems like these people are having. They're not receiving money, at least to my knowledge, from the DNC, or I'm sorry, from the RNC or anyone else. There's no one else giving these individuals money. These people are having to cough this stuff up themselves, and that is very troubling, and that's very concerning. I don't really know how a lot of these people are funding this type of legal counsel. It's very, very expensive. And I've had many people ask me, why did the other two people go ahead and take a plea of guilty? If they didn't do nothing wrong, why are people pleading guilty? When I hear stuff like that, it's generally from people that don't understand the legal system. And that's one of the reasons I do this, is to try to explain things in a layman way to where people can understand it. And the reason why people will plead guilty to a crime in which they are innocent is real simple. They don't want to spend the rest of their life in a cage. They want to try to have some type of control over the outcome of whatever is going on. And the individuals that pled guilty, they were two different lawyers, if I remember right. They want to make sure they can continue to practice law and support their families. If they're convicted and there's what they call a crime of moral turpitude, I'm not going to say that many times. I've got it out, so we're good. If there is a crime involving that, then they lose their law license. With these plea deals, there was a direct finding that they have not been found guilty of moral turpitude. Therefore, they could continue to practice law. Also, they avoided any prison time. I also believe they did not plead guilty to a felony. It was a misdemeanor. And finally, a lot of times, if you serve whatever the sentence is or the community service and you pay the fines or whatnot, a lot of times these type cases can be expunged, which means erased off of your record. So these are reasons why people will go ahead and plead guilty, even though they may be innocent. And remember, D.A. Willis, Nathan Wade, their target's not this, or not any of these small players. It's definitely not Michael Roman. Of course, it might be Michael Roman now if they stay on the case. But what I will say is, number one target is Donald Trump. What they want to do is they want to have all these small individuals plead guilty, and they want you to lie. That's what they want you to do. They want you to spin information in such a way to where they can secure a conviction against target number one, which in this case is former President Donald Trump. And folks, I'm telling you, that's the way the legal system works. You don't have to believe me, but I'm telling you, that's the way it is. I have a member of my own family that this individual believes that if the police are visiting you or arresting you, well, you must have done something wrong. That's not the way the world works, folks. There are legitimately people that get arrested that should not have been arrested. There are people that are in jail that are innocent. I know everybody in jail says they're innocent, but there are a lot of innocent people in prison today. Our prison population is bigger per capita than any country in the world, including North Korea. Google it, look it up, and see if I'm wrong on these facts. It is a very scary thing. It's a business. Our system of justice, our prisons are a huge business in this country, and it supports a lot of people as far as a business industry and itself. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be prisons. I don't want anybody to misquote me or misunderstand me. If you commit a violent crime, for sure, you should go to jail. Period. But I'm telling you, there are innocent people in jail. Think of it this way. I believe there's like 2.3 to 3 million people in jail. I think it's 3.1 million. Don't quote me. Let's just say 3 million people in jail today. Can you imagine it? Let me see how many people's in jail. There's that many people in jail right now today, if you can believe that. Let me see what it says. And when I say jail, I don't really mean jail. I mean prison. Let me see what it says. Or how many in prison in USA today. So let's just I want to illustrate this point, then we'll move on. All right, as of right now, I'm surprised. It's 1.9 million people are incarcerated in the United States. This is per Prison Policy Initiative, a nonprofit government organization. Let me share this. Screen with you guys here, and let me pop here. Let's see. Stop sharing. We're going to go. Okay. So take a look at this screen right here, and you can read it along with me because I think it's worth sharing. So as of March 2023, the Prison Policy Initiative, a nonprofit organization, estimates 1.9 million people are incarcerated in the United States. As of 2023, the criminal justice system oversees more than 5 million people. Wow, look at that. The criminal justice system oversees more than 5 million people, with about 2 million incarcerated in state or federal prisons. That doesn't count jail. That's just prison. You know, the old expression is that if it continues the way it is, you're going to have half of us with felony convictions and the other half watching that half. That's just really unbelievable. It even breaks it down here by percentage of Black, white, Hispanic. So let's just go ahead for the sake of discussion. And let's say, we're just going to pretend here. Let's just pretend that let's just pretend there's 1.9 million. Well, they said 2 million. We'll make it even 2 million just for quick math here. Let's say it's 2 million. Now, when you're convicted what they call beyond a reasonable doubt. And statistically, they consider a reasonable doubt to be 97%. If you can prove a case 97%, they consider you guilty, technically speaking. So that means 3% margin of error. But I don't even want to do that. Let's just say 1% margin of error. So if you know statistics and you study statistics and you go and you follow me on this math here, so follow me on this. Let's just say 1%. So 1 out of 100 is innocent. So we multiply that by 1%. That is 20,000 people today are incarcerated in prison that are innocent. And it's likely 60,000, if not more. That's just the statistics. I'm not making that up. That's just the way it goes. So let's just kind of keep that in your mind whenever you think that we need to be harsher or whatever. I mean, listen, if you're guilty, you need to go to jail. But when they're trying to throw our president in jail and they're using it for political reasons, we know that you're living in a system that is broken and it has to be corrected. I really don't see any other way to put it more bluntly. Let's go ahead and move over to this video here of Megan Kelly, and we will talk about it as we go through it. So let's go ahead and take a quick peek here because I want to talk about this just a little bit. So, all right, we're moving on. and she's going to be breaking down this case a little bit for us. I like the way this video flows. So let's start listening to it for a few minutes here, and we'll break it down.
I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. We have a bonus episode for you today detailing exactly what just happened with the closing statements in the Fani Willis disqualification hearing. This is it. We believe this was their last chance to try to convince this judge to disqualify Fani Willis and Nathan Wade and Fani's entire office from the prosecution of Donald J. Trump and his co-defendants in Georgia, which could lead to the end of this case. Both sides battling it out now in what? It was about 3 hours long. My God, the lawyers, they droned, but you're lucky because we cut it down for you to the most interesting, compelling points. We sat through it so you don't have to. Now the decision sits with Judge Scott McAfee. He just said that he expects to issue an answer. That's what he said, a ruling, in the next 2 weeks. He said he believes it will be 2 weeks away. Let's break it all down. Joining me now, our legal dream team on this case, Mike Davis, founder and president of the Article 3 Project, Dave Ehrenberg, state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida, where Mar-a-Lago is located, and Phil Holloway, founder of Holloway Law Group in Cobb County, Georgia. He knows a lot of players in this case. Mike, Dave, Phil, welcome all. All right, so let me start with overall impressions of how that went. Phil, I'll start with you since you're the local. What did you think?
Yeah, great to be with everyone here this afternoon. So this argument this afternoon, Megyn, went about like I would have expected it to. You know, you saw the players on the defense side sort of mix it up. They divided their time. Some of them hit some things and some of them hit other things. That's not at all uncommon. But they hit the things that I wanted to see them hit, particularly with the text messages. The point was made, as we've talked about on your show, that the text messages are substantive evidence that the judge can use to decide that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade have lied to the court. They even talked about the fraud being perpetrated on the court. That was a big theme. Interestingly enough, Steve Sadow, the attorney who represents former President Trump in this case, made the point that, Judge, you don't actually have to find that they actually did lie. You just need to find that you have grave concerns about the fact that maybe they lied. So he doesn't quite have to go that far. And that gives the judge
brought forth, he said, the testimony, all you have to find is that their testimony brought forth a true concern about their truthfulness. Keep going, Phil.
Yep. And so that gives the judge, I think, you know, a lot of room here. And of course, he's got Robin Yurdy. He's got that testimony. He's got the information from the cell records. He's got lots of things here that he can use to work with. And he said something, though, that I thought was really, really, really interesting at the very beginning. I don't know if y'all noticed this, but he basically said about the cell phones, we may not need to even get into all that because I might have enough to go ahead and make a ruling. Any lawyer who hears a judge say, you know, I may not need to hear your evidence that you want to present, I might be able to rule. That's a signal to that lawyer that the judge is already leaning my way. Okay. And so that was a big signal. I don't know what he's going to do. He could completely change his mind, but I believe going into this hearing, Megyn, I believe that he was leaning towards disqualifying Fani Willis and the rest of her team. I don't know about dismissing the indictment, but I believe the defense went into this with the wind at their backs.
I thought, before I get you guys, Mike and Dave, I did think on the cell phone evidence, you know, the records, he was at her house overnight at least twice. He visited her 35 times and all that, not to mention all the texts and the messages and calls in 2021 before the affair allegedly began, according to them. It was very interesting because that assistant DA tried his best to dismiss the cell phone records as much as a DA who uses cell phone records to convict people of crimes all the time could. And he kind of said, I talked to my best friend. We text 30 times a day. It's not unusual. You know what he didn't explain? Why on earth Nathan Wade would be doing an overnight at Fani Willis's house twice when they were allegedly not having an affair.
Yeah, the texting and the calling stopped when he got to the location near the Yurdy condo in Hateville. And so that tells you quite a lot that, you know, look, there's no need to continue texting when you're already there doing what people do in the overnight hours.
He said, you know, they didn't cross-examine him on what he was doing. He admitted to going this area for the Porsche experience, and they never cross-examined him to point out exactly what he would have been doing for several hours at a time. omitting the fact that we're all talking about the overnight hours. It's not like, gee, you're at the shopping center. You could have been in any one of these number of stores. It's like, it's from midnight to 4 a.m. We all know what was happening there. You don't have to ask that question.
Booty call, right?
Yeah, that's certainly how it sounds. All right, Dave, let me go with you next, since you're coming at it from the other side. And I think Mike's probably closer to Phil, but what was your impression?
Yeah, good to be with you, Megan, and Mike and Phil, and happy anniversary, Megan. I saw it on your Instagram page. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Doug and I, 16 years.
It's really impressive. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I come at this obviously from a different perspective, but I share your concerns that this was a self-inflicted wound. Like I have always thought that this was no conflict. There's no proof of actual conflict, but there is evidence of lying to the court. And if you can show lying to the court, then that's the ballgame. And the one thing that Phil said that I'm unsure about is Sadow's comment that you don't have to show lying, just there's some evidence of chicanery. I'd like to delve into that more, because I'm not aware that that's a standard, because I have not been proven myself that there is an actual lie. Look, there's smoke, but I'm not sure there's fire here, and I don't know which way the court is going to go. I have said originally, Megan, with you, that I think that this court is going to allow Fani Willis to remain, but is going to dress them both down, and perhaps there's a way to get Nathan Wade off the case without getting Fani Willis off the case. But look, there's a lot of shady stuff going on here, and I'd like to believe Fani Willis when she testified, but the phone records and the lack of records for the repayment of the cash and Miss Yurdy, and I thought that Phil's friend, Mr. Bradley, really just was so evasive and deceptive on the stand that I didn't know which way that went. I just think the whole thing didn't need to come to this point. They should have just fessed up. They should have admitted to everything and then recused Nathan Wade and then moved on. But this is a self-inflicted wound, and here we are.
Well said. Mike, your thoughts?
I think there's no question this judge is going to disqualify Fani Willis from this case, along with her not-so-secret boyfriend, Nathan Wade, along with the rest of the Fulton County DA office. Remember, Nathan Wade submitted a false affidavit to his divorce courts, and Fani Willis and Nathan Wade had 8 other attorneys in the Fulton County DA's office submit that false affidavit in response to co-defendant Mike Roman's motion to dismiss. You're dealing with perjury, subornation of perjury, bribery, illegal kickbacks. Nothing has changed on this key, crucial fact that Fani Willis had an illegal financial stake in a criminal prosecution. And all of us are lawyers. We all know that is very unethical. That is very illegal. And no one's going to buy her story that her Black Panther father.
Folks, a quick intermission here. If you want to join me right now and make a comment or just discuss these particular subjects we're talking about, I just put in the chat the link. You just need to make sure you have a Chrome browser, you need to have a camera, and you need to have a mic. And you'll pop up on my screen here, and I'll add you. So just make sure you can see yourself. You have a mic, and you're using Chrome, because the software I'm using, which is StreamYard, requires a Chrome browser. So feel free to join me. I just posted the link right there. You do not have to download anything to your computer. You can just go ahead and click on it. You're welcome to join us. So we're going to jump back into this video.
Told his Black Panther cub, Fani Willis, to keep 6 months of cash laying around the house. She used that up, $10,000 in cash, and she has no receipts, and there's no evidence she replenished that $10,000 that she supposedly spent on these trips when she when she went Dutch on these trips to the Caribbean and to Belize and Napa and wherever the hell else they went on their discovery for the Trump case.
One interesting thing about Terrence Bradley is both sides got up and said he's a liar. They both got up and said, we didn't believe him. No, we didn't believe him either. They disbelieved him on different pieces of his testimony, but he took the biggest beating today, as both sides said to the judge, this is a lying lawyer taking the stand before you. And I think that was our impression too. Terrence Bradley did not do the right thing. He got up there and lied that he didn't recall the messages he sent 4 weeks ago about critical matters that have been all over the news.
It's going to be interesting to see if Bradley is going to be able to get away with that, because it is just unbelievable that he could get up there and say what he said and there not be any consequence to that. This guy's an officer of the court. He's sworn a duty to the court and to uphold the ethics and the canons pertaining to be an attorney. And he clearly has fallen way short and clearly has engaged not only in perjury, my friends, but he has engaged in fraud upon the court. That is so clear.
I didn't believe him. It doesn't look like either side really believed him either. I want to go to, I don't know which defendant Harry McDougal represents. There's so many, but he did a good job. I thought there were multiple lawyers on the defense side of kind of ticking off the number of problems with the case, and then ended with a boom. Take a listen to SOT 14.
There are 6 different actual conflicts of interest in this case, any one of which warrants disqualification, but collectively practically compelling. First,
this guy did an excellent job in laying out all 6 case reasons why he believes there is evidence and a reason, a rule, if you will, to go ahead and remove DA Fani Willis and her entire office. And he lays out all 6. So I don't know if you caught that during the hearing or not, but I think that was fantastic on his part. Make it easy for the judge. It's easier to win if you can make things easier for the judge, and the judge can connect the dots. Because remember, the judge is the trier of fact, and we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Financial conflict that's already been covered. Second, the personal ambition, political ambition. Third, there's a dovetailed or complementary pattern of deceit and concealment of the relationship and the money. Fourth, the speech at the church. Fifth, the motion for protective order that the DA filed in Mr. Wade's divorce case. Sixth, the way the state has conducted the defense of this motion to disqualify, especially the hearing. They did nothing to correct obviously perjured testimony. In and of itself, that warrants disqualification of every one of them. The reason they lied and covered it up was to avoid the trouble therein.
Boom. He represents Jeffrey Clark. What's his story, Phil?
Yeah, so this attorney made a very, I think, persuasive argument, and he checked a lot of the boxes things that we've talked about in recent days. You know,
I give this guy an A+.
Issue.
He's the only guy I give an A+ to, I have to say.
Absolutely. Listen, he did a great job, and he makes the very good point. Things we've talked about. If a lawyer is participating in a case and their boss, like when I was an assistant district attorney, if my boss had told me that he wanted me to help further and participate in a fraud on the court, I would have no other choice but to quit. I would have to resign, because a lawyer cannot participate in a fraud on the court. And it's become very obvious when you hear Miss Yurdy come in and you see the Terrence Bradley text, and you have the actual raw data, whether it's in evidence or not. You at the DA's office have all this cell phone data, and you know that your boss and you know that her boyfriend have said things to the court that were demonstrably untrue. You have an obligation at that point to walk away. You cannot further participate in it. So either they don't
Where's
believe
Anna
it,
Cross?
they're choosing
Where's
not to
Anna
believe it.
Cross?
Yeah.
Free
Anna Cross
Anna. She wasn't there again today, Phil. That she was a special prosecutor. She was brought.
Anna Cross was one of the special prosecutors. She, of course, is working for DA Fani Willis' office. She made the mistake of asking the ex-partner, the guy we've been talking about that was a ex-law partner of Nathan Wade. She asked him a question there at the end, and the way she phrased the question just pretty well reopened up the judge taking this individual back into his chambers. And of course, we're talking about Terrence Bradley, taking him back into his chambers and what they call in camera, which means privately, and started asking him detailed questions about his alleged attorney-client privilege nonsense. So he was trying to sell the court. And of course, Anna Cross really stepped on it. They were getting a little upset with him over some of his answers, and they were trying to have it both ways. They loved it when you can't remember nothing, but yet they got irritated with him on something else. And then, of course, she took it too far. And that last answer, the judge pretty well just said, I think that Mr. Bradley's lying to me. And then that's when it was brought to an immediate end, and it picked back up the following week. But I have not seen Miss Cross in the courtroom, and that's what they're talking about. She must basically, I would assume they're keeping her in another office, keep her away from the judge.
Brought in, she was the
Her
one who put Terrence
email
Bradley on the
said-
stand originally, and
The
then she
email that-
disappeared.
The email that I saw that I was privy to was the one from several days ago, but it was after the state's most recent, the response that they made last Friday. She indicated something to the effect that I'm going to be tied up for several weeks with her own cases. Again, she's a private lawyer. You know, how many DA's offices hire private lawyers to come in and prosecute cases? In Georgia, it's almost unheard of. I've never seen anything quite like this. So, you know, all that is just part of the big weirdness of this. But for now, she's no longer here. She's not at the state. She's not at the table. She actually handled the examination of Terrence Bradley. The
Going to have to take a wanted poster out and say, wanted, where's Miss Cross?
first time he was on the stand, and there was apparently some discussion because when one lawyer starts the examination of a witness, that lawyer's got to stay with it until that witness is complete. It's called double teaming. Lawyers can't just come in and out in the middle of a witness. And so the defense was saying, no, we can't have Mr. Abadi doing this. It's got to be Miss Cross. But apparently the judge let them switch up, and we saw Mr. Abadi come in. Whether or not,
And she didn't even
whether we see
sign the
Anna
next
Cross come
briefs.
back, I don't know.
She's removed her name so far from the pleadings. She didn't show up at either of the hearings that we've had.
Yeah.
I have real questions about whether we're ever going to see Anna Cross in this case again, or whether she knows something that required her to step down as representative of the Fani Willis team. She was their lead. She was running herd on this.
Yeah.
They didn't want this junior guy running the show, and we all see why. My God, he was terrible. I'm sorry, Mr. Abadi. Maybe you're a sweet man, but I mean,
Folks, while we're listening to this, take a second, if you would, and put in the comments right now whether or not you think the judge is going to remove DA Fani Willis and her team, and whether or not you think that the judge will dismiss the case in its entirety. And just let me know why you think that is, if you can. But just keep it simple. All I'm looking for is, do you think she will be removed? And do you think the case will eventually be totally dropped? I'm just curious as to what your feedback is. You have been watching this case along with me, and I'm just curious where everybody thinks this case may be. So if you'd like to comment, this is a good time to do it. One final thing too, if y'all have not hit the thumbs up button, please hit the thumbs up. I normally don't harp about that, but if you would hit the thumbs up, it definitely helps out the algorithm, helps out my channel. And if you subscribe, hey, I love it. Thanks. We'll get right back into it.
a few more years in front of juries would serve you really well. Dave Ehrenberg would not hire you. He might put you on the junior baby cases, but he would not put you out in front of America on this case. Dave, you tell me that prosecution rebuttal was painful.
Megan, Mr. Abadi served an important purpose today. He proved to the world why Fani Willis needed to bring on special counsel. That's why she had to bring on Nathan Wade, right? So you're welcome,
right.
He's going to say, right? He's going to return to the table, say, you're welcome, Fani Willis. And to me, the worst part was when they kept having to slip him notes, like when the client has to keep slipping you notes like, hey, you got to say this and that. That's not a good look.
And the judge stumped him because he was trying to tell the court, you shouldn't believe Robin Yurti's testimony that the affair began in 19, because her lawyer, in trying to get her out of her appearance altogether, represented to the court that she had no personal knowledge of anything here. And the judge is like, first of all, the lawyer wasn't subject to cross-examination. That wasn't testimony. And I can't use that against Robin Yurti. But second of all, what's your theory, young prosecutor, that what would have been the incentive for Robin Yurti to say to her lawyer, I don't know anything, and then when told you've got to take the stand, to suddenly come up with a dramatic story? It's been going on since 19. I've witnessed it myself. And she told, if she wanted to get Fani Willis, she would have said from the get-go, put me in, coach. I'm ready. And the lawyer was so, do we have that cut, you guys? He was on his heels. It's coming in a second. I had secondhand embarrassment for him. You remember the moment, Dave? Did you see it?
I watched it, and he actually walked it back and said, yeah, point taken, Your Honor, point taken. But then he said, because of the bright lights and the national audience, that was his explanation of why he made that argument, that she didn't want to be embarrassed in front of everything, in front of all the whole world. But it really didn't make
By
that much
saying
sense
she didn't know anything?
That's right. Exactly. That was the problem. And that's why the judge called him out on it. It wasn't a great day for Mr. Abadi. He does seem like probably a nice guy, but he got trashed on Twitter or X by people on both sides. And I think you do see why, as I said, that Fani Willis decided to hire on real special counsel instead of going with him.
Oh my God, I know. I mean, Anna Cross, she was decent, but she seems to have flown the coop. Now she's stuck with this guy. Oh, we've got it. All right, let's play that moment.
What I would submit to the court is that
This was
Miss
funny.
Gertie's testimony was nothing more than inconsistent at best, based on what I referenced to the court earlier as it relates to the representations that were made by her counsel prior to.
Are those in evidence? Would his responses during a motion to quash, which weren't subject to cross-examination by defense attorneys, weren't even part of the evidentiary record of the hearing? Again, I'm just kind of puzzled by that. You didn't ask the question of Ms. Yurdy, what did you tell your attorney before coming here? And then we could have dealt with privilege issues and whatever else.
Ouch.
I would agree with the court. It's not in evidence, but it was a statement by an officer.
All right, you get the
court.
flavor. That's
the
how it
court
went
during
on and on and on.
Folks, I have to tell you, this judge has done a very good job of not embarrassing these attorneys like some judges will do, especially with a worldwide audience, because this is a case of world importance. It's definitely a case of national importance. By extension, the entire world is focused on this case. And this guy here, he acts like he's the son of Nathan Wade. I mean, he does not seem like he's got everything together. He's stumbling. He doesn't have the case law with him, or he didn't file this or that right. I mean, these people are supposed to be trained professionals. In the words of DA Fani Willis in front of the church, she says these people were superstars. They're superstars. It's just unbelievable, the incompetence that these people have exhibited during this entire case, starting with Nathan Wade. If you have not seen the 4 or 5 part series that I did showing Nathan Wade in court before we knew what an idiot he was, the judge and the other defense attorneys were almost baffled. Like, what's this guy talking about? What is he doing? It almost reminds me of one of those movies where somebody's faking that they're a doctor or that they're a lawyer. You know, that one with Leonardo DiCaprio or whatever the name of that movie was. It's like somebody is there, but they're not really an attorney. They're just kind of going through the motions and doing a lot of, may it please the court. I mean, I don't know. It was really, really stunning, just the level of incompetence. And this young guy followed right in line with it. Oh, well.
And it was just painful for all of us. Okay, but let's talk a little bit about what the judge said, because of course you guys all know as lawyers, that's what's most interesting to those of us on the outside and to the lawyers in the courtroom, to figure out what he is thinking and where he might go. And he had some good, tough questions for Team Trump. I'll just describe all the defendants that way. And then he had some equally tough questions for Team State. And my own takeaway watching the whole thing was this judge is likely to find, he was wrestling with whether they have to prove that Fani Willis had an actual conflict of interest or whether it would be enough to disqualify her if there were just an appearance of impropriety. And he seemed to be maybe struggling a little to find an actual conflict of interest, though I think he probably will find it. But he doesn't seem to have any doubt that there is the appearance of impropriety. And I think he's going to hold that that's the relevant legal standard. Appearance of impropriety is enough to get you booted. And that already happened to Fani Willis once in this case with respect to one defendant who she was going after in this case. And that person was running for office and she had campaigned for his adversary. And she got booted off of that prosecution because of the appearance of impropriety. And the state, Team Trump, offered up honest assessments that there had been some smaller rulings a long time ago that suggested you need an actual conflict, but they were in dicta, meaning it wasn't an actual holding. It was just like extra wording in these opinions. But since then, the Georgia Supreme Court had actually held appearance of impropriety is enough. And Mike, to me, like that legal standard, as you guys know, the legal standard can make or break you. If he goes with appearance of impropriety, they're done. There's no question. If he goes with actual conflict, well, I know what you want and what you believe, but what did you glean from the judge, Mike, on what he'll do if he needs an actual conflict of interest?
Well, I am concerned about this judge. I mean, this is a Kemp appointee. He worked for Fani Willis when she was in the Fulton County DA's office. When he left the Fulton County DA's office to go be a federal prosecutor and assistant U.S. attorney, this judge donated $150 to Fani Willis's campaign. So I think there may be some, personal connection between the two, maybe some affection that he has. And I think that he has to have a rock solid case in order to disqualify Fani Willis from this case. I think there's clearly an actual conflict of interest well beyond the appearance of a conflict of interest. There's undisputed evidence that she hired her secret boyfriend, and she hired him before Fani Willis indicted President Trump and 18 others. The indictment is the key. She lied about the timing and when it started, the nature of the relationship, but it's undisputed that she hired her secret boyfriend before the indictment, and
which is 2023.
And she took these trips. And her defense is that she paid him back in cash with the 6 months of cash she had laying around her house because of her father's advice, but there are no receipts whatsoever. That's just not credible, especially when you look at the other lies that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade have.
I agree with some of these attorneys and some of the stuff that they're talking about. However, some of the points I agree with, some of the points I don't agree with. Now, I've seen several of you make comments, and I appreciate the comments. Thank you so much for sharing with me. I sincerely appreciate it. I'd much rather have a conversation with y'all than just basically sit here and blah, blah, blah. I want to talk. I like to have a conversation. It's one of the things I enjoy about this type of particular forum. I wanted to address the donations. I've seen several comments about the donations, that the judge should recuse himself because of the donation to the Fani Willis campaign. Maybe we didn't talk about this enough, but I've tried to point out that he should not recuse himself because of that. And I know that might shock you, but you have to understand, if every judge recused themselves off a case because they made a financial donation or a contribution to their campaign, there would be no judges. And the reason for that is these people are all colleagues. They work together in the same building day to day. One attorney helps another attorney. They all donate to one another's campaigns because generally they're limited by how much any one person can donate. Whatever the local rules are, basically one attorney helps out another attorney. I think I've compared it before, where you go to work and your colleagues are waiting on you. I mean, how many Girl Scout cookies have you bought? You know what I mean? It's similar to that. And as attorneys, they make really good money. So to drop $150 for these people is not really any money. And $150 is not going to sway things one way or the other. And if you want to be surprised and you want to be shocked, well, guess what? Ashleigh Merchant, who I just love to death, right? She was a active, adamant, very, very vocal supporter of Nathan Wade for judge. Apparently he ran for judge some time ago. And in one of the state's rebuttal pleadings, they had a nice big picture of Ashleigh Merchant with a shirt on, Nathan Wade for judge or something to that effect. Apparently the picture was taken downtown Marietta in Cobb County. So these people all know one another. They've all donated to one another. So don't let that really bother you on the $150, because it doesn't bother me. If it did, I would definitely tell you, and I would make a point about dissecting it further. I have to tell you this next story. This is fantastic as far as potentially helping former President Donald Trump, and it has to be discussed. And we're going to jump into it right now. Now, I've told you Breitbart News has done a fantastic job of breaking stories. You know, the other day we talked about the fact that this guy here, this Jeff DeSantis, is a plant, according to this report, is a plant in the Fani Willis DA office. Well, the thing you got to remember is it's an ongoing investigation. They're drilling down on this right here. And if this is key, this story is going to be bigger than this disqualification story. This story, in my opinion, is going to be bigger than anything else that has transpired in all of this Donald Trump legal saga to date. I absolutely guarantee that, because this would be prima facie proof. It's not debatable that Joe Biden and his administration are actively and have actively and are continuing actively to collude together, aka Rico, to stop President Donald Trump. It would be a complete mess if this is absolutely proven. The story that's out now by Breitbart, and I'm telling you, I have to check this site all the time because they are all over this story, specifically this Fani Willis case. So let's read it together. Exclusive. Former Biden aide paid Fani Willis's deputy, DA Jeff Santis, $131,000 in 2023. So last year, and it's just the year of 2023, he has received $131,000 from Ford. It says exclusive. Former Biden aide paid Fani Willis's deputy. That's amazing, ain't it? So the implication here is money coming from the Biden administration or the people in power are paying him directly. That's how they know he's a plant. Let's read and check this out a little bit here. We'll go more into it at another time, but we have to touch on it right now. All right. Democrat operative in Fulton County, Deputy District Attorney Jeff DeSantis received 4 payments totaling $131,335 for providing counseling service to Representative Gabrielle Amo, who's a Democrat in Rhode Island, a former Biden White House aide who worked with locally elected officials. Federal Elections Commission records show. So they're continuing to drill down on the story. This is not the end of the story by any stretch of the imagination. The money flow is significant because sources with direct knowledge of Fulton County's office told Breitbart News DeSantis is a Biden plant inside the Fulton County office to target former President Donald Trump. This is all stuff that we kind of knew, that we've all been talking about, and it's hitting the fan, folks. I really don't know any better way to put it. This is prima facie evidence, hand down. Prima facie meaning it's proof just by looking at it that there is some serious problems going on with this case, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly where this all falls. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and let me take a peek here at some of the comments. I do appreciate y'all. I have been online now almost, what's about 11 o'clock locally here, Eastern Standard Time. And we are going to review this further, but we're going to start landing the plane right now. I want to make a couple closing remarks about what I think is going to happen. Kim, I want to thank you. Kim Griffith, thanks again so much for your super chat. I sincerely appreciate everyone's support and your support, hon. It has really meant the world to me. Thank you all so much for all of that support. Folks, here's my prediction as promised on this particular case. I can see it going either way if I'm being perfectly honest with you. This is a case where it's called the trier effect. Now, what is a trier effect? Generally, a trier effect is the entity or the individual that's going to make the decision in a particular case. Now, generally, a trier effect is the jury. We're used to, we're 12 men and women. We, the jury, in the above title action, hereby find blank. That's what we're used to seeing. But oftentimes, a case may be heard by the judge only. And in this case, the judge is the trier effect. And that's really weird because a lot of people have a hard time getting their mind around it. Like, how in the world can a judge hear evidence, for example, in camera, in private, seeing the text messages, and then forget the text messages or whatever evidence he's not going to consider? Well, that's his job. He literally is going to take 2 weeks He's already said that from the bench. He's going to go back into his office. He's going to lock the door, turn the lights down low, and he's going to be thinking and relaxing. He's going to turn the lights back up high, and he's going to put all the evidence in front of him. He's going to say, what can I allow into my brain? What can I not allow into my brain? He's going to have to weigh it and go shoot that way. Now, which way is he going to find? I have to believe, I just have to believe he's going to remove DA Fani Willis. I don't believe he's going to dismiss the Rico case, but he's definitely going to remove DA Fani Willis in his office. If he uses the standard of an appearance of wrongdoing, and that's what he's already done. He's already said that if we see an appearance of wrongdoing, that is good enough to remove DA Fani. That's what the judge said previously. And if it's just like Stephen Sato, President Trump's actual defense lawyer, who I love. I think he's a great attorney also. But he was in front of the judge, provided case law, said, Judge, all you need is what I'm giving you right now under the law, which is just the appearance of something improper is enough for you to remove the DA in her office from this case. And I totally agree with that. All the research I have done has shown exactly what we just said, and that is the judge can remove her if he wants to. Frankly, folks, if the judge doesn't want to remove her, he doesn't have to. He can find a way to wiggle it out and say they didn't provide enough direct evidence or what have you. So it is highly subjective on the part of the judge, and that's just the nature of life in court. It is really up to the men and women in these black robes. And in this case, it's not going to be any different. My gut tells me she's got to be removed. If she's not removed, it's just going to make the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, frankly, a lot of attorneys, just make them look ridiculous and like they won't enforce their own rules. As far as further consequences, I have to believe that DA Willis, Nathan Wade are going to face some type of disciplinary action in front of the Georgia State Bar. I can tell you from personal experience and things that I have seen turned over to the Georgia Bar Association. Generally, they are what I call a do-nothing bar. They generally just don't take action. They don't like to take action against their own members, aka other attorneys. However, when you have a case in the public eye, like this particular case, that might be different. This might be a different scenario simply because the world is looking at this particular case. I think there's a serious risk of disbarment. I think there's a serious risk of criminal culpability, fraud upon the court, perjury at a minimum, probably honest service fraud against Fani Willis, the prosecutor, boyfriend, paramour, Nathan Wade, and whoever has been associated with him or colluding with him. I also think that this Terrence Bradley is seriously at risk for some kind of criminal exposure. At a minimum, if the Georgia State Bar looks into this matter, they may go after him for his answers on the stand. We will try tomorrow to drill down on the actual text message that you saw on my board a little while ago. We'll jump into that first thing when we convene again. So here's what you need to do. If you hadn't hit the thumbs up button, hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And why subscribe? Well, because I want you to subscribe, number one. And number two, when I go back live tomorrow, whenever I get time, boom, you'll be notified because you have subscribed to the channel. Just make sure you turn the alerts on and you'll get a real quick thing that says, hey, I'm live or I'll be live at whatever time, because I really want to go over these text messages with you. When you see the text messages and what he said roughly a month prior to his testimony, that he was absolutely certain of this and that, and then he's on the stand that he can't recall and he can't remember, you're going to see clearly that he is guilty of fraud on the court at the same time. Something stinks here, folks, and it's absolutely rotten, wrong, and I hope that these people face the appropriate consequences that they have coming to them. So, folks, I appreciate each and every one of you. I always say, keep that mind free, never give up. And until next time, I am J.R. Dukes.